Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on the Flash TV series, because it's not specifically the season 9. It feels weird not saying, a specific season. I guess it's technically season 10, because what we're going to be going over in today's video is some cancelled or deleted plans for stuff that could have happened in season 9 if the season was longer, or season 10 if it actually happened. But of course, Grant Gustin decided to leave after season 9, so season 10 was not going to happen, of course. Now, these range from smaller character-specific stuff that maybe was teased in earlier seasons as well, to also crossover plans that he was hoping to do as well. And Eric Wallace, the showrunner of The Flash, does elaborate on that and, some finer details and some of the plans within those plans that could have been coming our way. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this stuff. Which one of these things would you want to see the most? Which one are you fine not seeing and sort of happy that they're not going to get it because it might not interest you? Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and maybe even theories and ideas about them and how they could have played out in the comment section down below. And of course, if you want going to enjoy the video, want to show support, everything like that, drop a like on the video. It takes 2 seconds. So this is coming from Entertainment Weekly. They are the ones that talk to Eric Wallace about this. And this is what they had to say. The Flash brought back its biggest villains in the series finale before Barry and Iris got their happily ever after at the end of the chaotic, jam-packed 4-part series finale. But it turns out there was even more drama, action, and twist that Eric Wallace could not fit into the shortened final season, and he's ready to spill all the details. When speaking to Entertainment Weekly, Wallace revealed everything he wanted to include before The Flash ended for good, but ultimately had to be cut. I knew ahead of time what story I wanted to tell, and we're actually telling the story that I wanted to tell in the 200th episode had we gotten there. Sadly, we did not. I originally had a 2-year plan involving seasons 9 and 10, but the second half of what would have been the 200th episode was just too good, so I dragged it and pulled it all the way into the series finale and then put some new stuff on top of it to create a new story. Now, to me, I think what he's taken there that was meant to be in the 200th episode was all the speedsters coming back, the evil ones. I think maybe originally his Cobalt Blue plan, the speedsters weren't going to be there. We're just going to be Cobalt Blue doing his own thing, maybe just drawing a lot of energy from the negative Speed Force and stuff like that. Because when you watch the finale, the speedsters, or like the evil speedsters from previous seasons, do feel very forced in. They show up, they have a really good scene in the negative Speed Force, and then, I guess, spoiler alert, they all just get defeated really easily, as if they weren't planned to be there, and as if they're forced. And I think that's what was meant to be in the 200th episode. It feels like something you'd put in a milestone episode, having all those speedsters come back, and that's what I think happened there. So that sort of explains it now. Or at least gives us a hint at the explanation, because he doesn't flat out say it right there, that that's what was meant to be in the 200th episode that he then shoved into the series finale. While he's satisfied with how The Flash ends in episode 184 instead, he still can't help but mourn all the ideas that never came to fruition. What was disappointing is there were a couple of heroes and a couple of villains that will just never see the light of day in the Arrowverse. Unfortunately, because we had to put all our energy into Barry and Iris, we've got to fit 2 years worth of Barry and Iris in one season, he explains. Now, to me, that's weird, because I feel like Iris was really not that much in this season, unless she except for the beginning parts of it. So I don't know how Iris fans will feel about that, because I think they got shortchanged, or they feel that they got shortchanged. But if you're an Iris fan, let me know in the comment section down below. You might be able to enlighten me on your thoughts on that. But here we go. Here are the deleted parts from, either Flash season 9 or potentially Flash season 10. Let's jump into them. Chester's mysterious enemy. Wallace points to an unresolved mystery from season 8 that he wanted to bring back in a bigger way if he'd had more time. When I heard the final season was only 13 episodes, suddenly so many things just went out the window at that point. We had a huge storyline that was going to involve Chester and Allegra. They finally kissed, finally fall in love, all that good stuff, but they had their own insane storyline in the middle of season 9 originally, with a villain that we didn't get to include. Back in season 8, episode 15, Wallace planted the seeds for the villain. There's a computer and a cryptic thing comes up and someone downloads all of Chester's files. That was us setting up the middle graphic novel villain for season 9. Sadly, that doesn't get resolved anymore because the whole storyline had to be cut. Now, I think most can agree, thank you, that we did not get that. Yeah, I think if it was a 1 episode thing, it'd be fine, but he says here that it was meant to be the graphic novel villain, so I guess Chester and Allegra would have led up a graphic novel. I don't know if people would have vibed with that, so probably a good thing that never happened. Kyon's origin story. Danielle Panabaker's original season 1 character, Caitlin Snow, returned by the end of the series finale after Goddess Kyon took over her body for all of the final season, but Wallace intended to expand Kyon's origin story even further. With Keown, although it worked out great, I had originally pitched it to Danielle Panabaker as a 2-year story, and suddenly I didn't have 2 years to tell her story. So the whole first half just got thrown out. It was supposed to start with who comes out of that crystal coffin, right? We had to change so many things. Where we end up is equally as shocking and surprising and emotional as we would have gotten to in season 10, but we did lose some of the minutiae that I think would have been very enjoyable for the fan base and for us as writers and directors. Now, for me, I feel like Keown sort of struggled throughout this season. I feel like they brought her in. Okay, there's like a lot of mystery around her. What can she do? What can she not do? And then she just sort of lingered for a lot of the season, and then she sort of really developed come the end of it and was really overpowered. But I feel like I think I said this in my other video where we talked about when Danielle Panabaker's thoughts on coming back as Caitlin, when we included that. I think it was a video about Grant Gustin more specifically. But I said that I think a lot of people would just probably preferred Caitlin in the final season compared to what we got with Keown. So I don't know if this whole Keown story that was potentially there that Eric Wallace had planned was more interesting, but I always felt Keown was dragged out. So even longer, 2 seasons, I think that would have been too much. But I don't know, that's a what if type situation. We don't know how that played out, obviously. The crossover events that never happened. A long comic book arc that Wallace wanted to adapt into the final epic crossover event was The Blackest Night, a mini-series first published in 2009 involving the Green Lantern Corps. Back in Season 8, we set up the Blackest Night storyline with Deathstorm. When Deathstorm was defeated, the emotional vibrations went all the way back to the Netherverse and another dimension to Necron, who's right out of the comic books. I wanted to have one final big, huge, epic crossover, getting everybody, if you're on a show or not, back together for that storyline. What that would have allowed me to do is bring back characters that are dead. And this is where things get pretty interesting and make you go, oh, maybe I really wanted to see this. Wallace intended on bringing characters together from The Flash and Superman and Lois, as well as Titans and DC's Stargirl. The idea was to get all of them together to stop Necron and all these Black Lanterns, which I'm sure Geoff Johns would have loved because it's his creation. So to me, Blackest Night sounds like a pretty interesting thing, especially if you sort of fold into the other elements, like other dead characters from other shows and other properties and stuff. That's where it evolves. I think if you just do the Arrowverse, there's only a handful of people that I think people would go, oh, it's really cool to see them back, even though they're like a bit of an evil dead person. But there's only a handful. And some would be like, do you really touch that? Like, would you touch Oliver Queen coming back from the dead and everything like that? So I think if you involve those other characters, and it would have been cool to see those other characters interact with Titans and Stargirl characters and Superman and Lois folding back into it, that would have been really cool. And I think it would have been one hell of a crossover to probably be the final one. So bit of a shame we didn't get to see that potentially, because you don't know how it would play out, but it sounds like a decently cool idea. Another massive graphic novel Wallace wanted to take on is The Forever War. That's one of these crazy things that I've been hinting at, which is very tied in with the Chronarch. We've been hinting that the Chronarch could be back in some way, as early as season 7 when Abracadabra mentions to Barry, the Chronarch is coming and is going to mess up your life. It has to do with Barry and Iris because Eternity is falling apart and Forever is getting taken away. That would have kicked off season 10 with a couple of special guest stars that we would have seen. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't tease who they would have been. I'd assume it might have been like future versions. I think this would have been very similar to Armageddon. You know, kicking off the season, having some familiar faces come back. But for the Forever War, we knew took place in like 2049. They were still dealing with it then. So my only thought is that, I don't know if you'd jump ahead or we would time travel to the future or something weird like that. I'm not too sure what it would have been like. Or maybe the guest stars would have been their future versions coming back to the present day to maybe get ahead of the whole situation. That might have been what it might have been. So I don't know who the fan favorites would have been. Maybe people like Black Lightning, people that were part of the League, Black Lightning. Maybe they could get it Supergirl, White Canary, Sarah Lance, people like that though. Martian Manhunter, maybe that could have been pretty cool. So doesn't mention anyone, but the door was there for something like that to happen. That would have been pretty cool to kick off season 10 with. And the final thing that Eric Wallace talks about here is returning fan favorite characters. Wallace also revealed he wanted to bring back Jordan Fisher as Barry and Iris' second child, Bart Allen, but he was starring in Broadway's Sweeney Todd at the same time the series finale was in production. The timing just couldn't have been worse, he says, and he had an idea to actually bring back former Flash stars Tom Felton as Julian Albert and Chantel Van Senten as Patty Spivot, and here's the thing, he would reveal that they've become a married crime-fighting duo named Hot Pursuit. How cool would that have been, he adds. Now, if you don't know, Hot Pursuit is like what Patty Spivot, she has like a Speed Force motorbike sort of thing. You probably see a picture of it on screen. So that's what Hot Pursuit is, and Patty Spivot is that in like a run in the comics as well. That sounds, I mean, it's a cool thing to bring both of those characters back. I mean, we knew that they weren't going to bring Patty back to be any sort of romantic interest to Barry, though I'm sure some people would have wanted that. That would have caused quite the drama online, I think, if that happened. I don't know how they would have connected. I mean, Patty Spivot went to Midway City to become a CSI. You know, Julian Abbott was in that field as well, so maybe he came back to, he went to London at the end of season 3 and apparently just stayed there, but maybe he comes back, or maybe she moved to London or England or something to work. I'm not too sure. And that's how they would have run into each other. I mean, that would have been a cool return, I guess, to an extent. I don't know if everyone would have liked that, but just to see those characters on screen, I think would have been cool. So I don't think I would have been 100% against that, but it's definitely something crazy that I don't think anyone would have thought of. But of course, Eric Wallace is that type of guy to just think of crazy things, whether it's good or bad. But yeah, that's Eric Wallace there. Now, the issue with this is that a lot of these articles that are with Eric Wallace and stuff like that, or even some of the other like writers and stuff, all note done before the writer's strike. So Eric Wallace hasn't done a proper rundown or breakdown of his decisions in the series finale and why he did what he did, because he was talking to interviewers or, you know, journalists that hadn't watched the finale yet. So they couldn't ask him questions about what happened specifically in the finale. So I don't know if we're ever going to get that, because I think they're just not doing interviews while the strike's going on. So that's a wait and see. If he ever talks about it, he might eventually. It could be on like a podcast that he does or something like that, and not with these, because it just depends how long after, you know, like the finale that aired a couple of days ago from when you're watching this video, and when the strike ends. And it's like 3 months from now, which I don't think it will be, but let's just say hypothetically it's 3 months from now. Would you do a Flash, post finale breakdown that late on? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, because I'm very curious to hear what he has to say in regards to his choices and why he did certain things. Even though this stuff here sort of hints at it and maybe explains why certain things happened, but it's not a full proper breakdown. I wouldn't mind hearing that, but we might be waiting. So it's a wait and see. I know people want it, but we might be just waiting a while for it. If not, just might not happen because of the time. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on all this stuff. Which one of these things would you have wanted to see the most? Which one are you like, yep, happy that didn't happen. So yep, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.